Hey, everybody, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining me. It's October 8th. This one's coming to you a little later, and it's probably going to be a little shorter because, the agenda's full. That's all I can say. But basically, the stock market is now forcing Washington's hand. Isn't that what President Obama basically requested last week? Remember when he said investors should be concerned? And it was if Wall Street up to that point said, they'll resolve this. We don't need to be concerned. And in the last few days, now they're believing it, and it's almost as if we need somebody commented to me today and said it's as if we need a 500-point down day before something gets done. And I 100% agree because we've seen that pattern in the past where they use Wall Street as a barometer of how everybody is feeling. So you may be very frustrated with what's going on, but unless Wall Street is selling stocks, they're going to ignore basically your feelings, right? But if Wall Street's going down, then that's the barometer. Then we're all upset. That's the way they feel about this. And so now they're getting what I guess they want, or President Obama wants. I don't know who wants it, but it's sad because you see what's happening here, and not to get too political, but you do see that. To me, the Republicans are not going to get anything done on Obamacare. I think that's what it looks like to me. So they may have to give on that, but what they may get, the Republicans, is some serious budget talks, and we'll see. I mean, look, today's October 8th. October 17th is when theoretically we hit the debt ceiling, but if you look underneath the hood a little bit, it's really October 24th, maybe even a little later, maybe late October. I think this thing's going till October, late October, because that's when they have to do something. And right now, they don't have to do anything. I don't think we will default on our bonds. And the thing is, see, they could cherry pick some things right now and prioritize and cut some items that aren't necessary, right? Trips to certain places. What they have to have at the top of the list is paying the interest on our bonds, right? They could get that done. But they're all holding each other hostage, and mainly they're holding us hostage. And so what we have now is the zigzags that we have talked about, and here we are down here. And we talked about the other day in the last podcast that the 100-day moving average, which is this purple line here, has been the support, right? We've kind of gone through it a little bit, but pretty much bounced off of it a few times. Here we are again breaking through it, and we're at the point right now where we're getting oversold. We have had, today was not quite one of these 90% down days, but very close. Almost everything across the board was down. There's a lot of down stocks. And when you looked at the risk scale of the things that on a bad day should be going down, the NASDAQ was down the hardest, down 2%. The Russell 2000 down 1.74%. And we'll go through them here. NASDAQ, down 2%. The Russell 2000, down 1.74%. Mid-caps, down 1.32. I'm working my way from the riskier indices, typically, or the more volatile, up to the least volatile. S&P 500, down 1.23%. Dow Jones, down 160 points. That one broke support, and now, not only is the 100-day broken, but what you have here on the Dow Jones, pretty interesting, is you have some of these crossing over. So these things are starting to aim down. Let me change it to red. And now what you have is the 200-day, which hasn't been seen all this year, even close to it. So we're getting to a point right now where we're kind of at an inflection point where this year, if you looked at the S&P 500, this is the point we should bounce. We should. And if you look at the VIX, it's at a very high level and a place that we have rallied before. And so now you're seeing fear pick up. So we had the volatility index not up a lot. It was up over 20 today, but it was not as a huge update percentage terms. But you do get these spikes. And remember what I told you the other day. We don't want to buy when this thing's spiking. We want to buy when this thing's spiking, and then it starts to come back down into the more comfort zone. That's where we want to buy. And this thing's still moving up. So we wait for right now. But I would draw your attention to a lot of stocks out there that have been on fire. The thing that stood out to me today more than anything was if you looked at the companies like the Teslas of the world, down 4.5% today. Priceline.com down 4% today, $43. Facebook, right, a favorite lately, down 6.67%. And I show you these because, again, if the uptrend is going to continue, these things are looking okay, some of them. Netflix, take a look at Netflix, 4.98% on the down. Yahoo, down 3.5%, bouncing actually, and on heavy volume. So it seems to me the momentum stuff really got hit hard today. That could just be, hey, we're going to take some profits and this is where we have them. Or it could be, now everything's getting sold. So it's hard to interpret exactly if that means it's the end or just the beginning of this turning over. But I can tell you that we're at a point right now where the fear is picking up. I still don't believe that we've had that, what I would call, and I've described it in the past, a vomit day, where everything is thrown up or everything is thrown out on the table, where you have things down, across the board, 3, 4, 5%. We haven't seen that yet, which is a little scary. And but we are seeing a lot of negativity. Now, what you're not seeing is a big move into bonds, right? We're not seeing the fear. Fear would mean that bonds would start going up in price. And while they have may be turning the corner here, and we certainly got this cross where the 20-day crossed the 50, but it doesn't. We're not getting these big bursts up where people are saying, I'm going to flock to treasuries. So what you have is a competing thing. You have, on one hand, you have the buyers saying, we don't trust stocks. Where do we go when we don't trust stocks? We go to bonds. So they're buying. On the other hand, you have people saying, well, what if we default? We don't want to own U.S. bonds. They're selling. And what you end up with is a stalemate, where you basically get something that moves 0.03%. Did I say 0 and O in the same sentence? How about 0.0% or 0.03%? I'll stick with 0.03%. That's what it did today. So bonds were flat. You didn't get any help out of gold, which is really concerning for you gold bugs that own a bunch of gold. If gold can't rally on days like today, when's it going to rally? So that's kind of interesting to watch what's going on there. And by the way, the worst sector that I saw in the day, biotech. Biotech got just slaughtered, 5.59% on these stocks. Now, I will caution you, some of these are very heavily weighted to just a few stocks. So if those stocks go down, the whole index goes down. But that was a pretty bad day. That's probably one of the worst days I've seen in a long while on biotech. So you can see it here. The volume was big, downdraft was big. But again, this is where you got to decide what your pain tolerance is. Are you thinking right now, when the stock market is falling the way it is, are you thinking this was the top and it's over now? Remember, a lot of people called the top here, and then we made a newer top, a toppier top. And are you saying now that this is going to continue down without any bounce at all? If you're wanting to sell, look to do it on a rally. I'm not saying it's going to start tomorrow, but look to do it on a rally. As opposed to saying, well, I'll just sell when it gets all the way down to here, or I'll buy when it gets all the way down to here. Look, there's going to be some zigs and zags along the way. This thing's not going to go straight down, I don't believe, unless there's more and more negativity comes out. But this thing could drag on for a while. And I do think the longer it drags on, regardless of if we have bounces or not, I think it's going to drift lower, because there's just going to be more people wanting to sell than buy until they resolve this. And I do think at the end of the day they're going to get it resolved. It's just sad that they're holding us hostage right now. So my conclusion is we got a lot of momentum stocks being thrown out really quickly, which looks like very heavy profit taking. And we're seeing some fear, but we're not seeing all-out fear where treasuries rally and the VIX just goes bonkers. We're not seeing that. So we still could have a little bit more on the downside. But again, what is your pain threshold? Because if your pain threshold is, here, then you should be selling. If your pain threshold's here, you should be holding. If you've got some cash, we're going to get stretched out to the downside, and then we're going to have a sharp rally. And that will be coming regardless. So you got to pick and choose where you want to live in this environment. And right now, I haven't been making a lot of moves because the chances of a resolution are just as in a violent move to the upside are just as risky as this thing continuing to fall. The stock market is still in a bull market. There's no question that the intensity of the rally has slowed. I mean, you can just look at some of these moving averages that are starting to kind of flatten out here. There's no question that at some point we're gonna have to rally. Otherwise, all these moving averages are just going to continue to roll. And so this thing's starting to lose a little bit of intensity. But I can tell you that a lot of the selling in the last, especially besides today, a lot of the selling that we've seen lately, really most of the selling that we've seen all throughout this period here, has been, with the exception of today, so I'll take that off, has been just a matter of people looking to reload at lower levels and not having intense selling. They're just simply saying, we're just not going to buy right now. And now today was the first day you saw a little more intense selling. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up. I hate to make it so quick, but I have to do this. Otherwise, I won't be able to get it out tonight. And I'll try to do a few more, and update you on the next few days, any moves that I'm making. But right now, I have not been making a lot of moves overall.